Hey there, my name's Pete, and I like pictures. Well, actually, it has been months ago already, and I have to admit I completely forgot that, and I stumbled upon this while doing something else. What I will make a video about soon because I accidentally deleted my Lightroom catalog, and I had to restore everything, which wasn't that much of a problem. So there will be a video about that soon. We had a question, Fern and I had a question on one of our last In Conversation live streams by Biostat Prof, asking how to go about after a day of shooting or after a couple of days of shooting, how to select the photos that we actually want to work with. So that's what I did. I went out, took some photos, imported them to Lightroom, got with Fern on Hangouts and recorded what we did. Then, because I thought maybe it's a cool idea to have someone with me, and so that we can talk about that. So enough rambling, let's start. Hello, with me here on Hangouts again, Fernando Socorro, Fern, qbn-scholar.tumblr.com, and we're going to try something because we had a question in one of our last In Conversations by, I think it was Biostat Prof, biostatprof.tumblr.com, about how to select photos to consider. Well, first consider editing and then later posting, and then we might even start to edit a photo together. And I suggested that I would make a video about that, but then I thought it might be fun to have Fern with me on that, so we can talk about that. And so actually I went out yesterday and took a couple of photos, and so I haven't selected them yet. The only thing I did, and I'm going to switch to Lightroom now. Let me check how to do that. Screen share.
Very adventurous of you, by the way.
Pardon?
Very courageous of you to not have even selected any.
Well, it's not a problem for me, because so I don't know if you know. Is not visible yet. Present to everyone. So do you see?
Yes.
So these are the photos I made yesterday. I have to admit I deleted 4 of them, but these were just test shots to figure out the exposure because I shot in full manual. What I do more and more lately. Simply.
By the way, just for your information, the clicking is gone.
Clicking is gone. Then it has, because that's what I said, because my webcam is switched off now.
Yep.
So the clicking is gone. It has to do with the webcam. Weird as shit.
Uh-huh.
So I went out yesterday, and it was it's a tiny, I don't know if it's actually a town or it's just in big quotes, no village shaming, or it's just a village, just a couple of houses, very close to where I live, 2 stations by train. And so these are 29 photos I made, and I left that one in, number 9, on purpose, because I want to show you something, or I can show something with that. So these are the photos I made yesterday. I can't say whether the photos I made yesterday are or would have been the same photos as if I wouldn't have had in the back of my mind that we're gonna do that. So I was probably a bit more selective with my framing and stuff. So I would suggest I just go through them. Just how I would do that, or how I frequently or usually do that. So I imported those photos and I keyworded them. That's what I already do while importing. So I put in the keywords to later find them in Lightroom. So you see I have, because there's a bit of fog in there, so I have fog when I want to look for fog photos. Geisenbrunn is actually the name of the place. Landscape, and I usually tag my photos or keyword my photos with the English and the German name words, which is kind of weird, but it's just like it is. So landscape, Landschaft, Nebel means fog, and winter, which is the same word in German as in English.
Really?
yeah, winter and winter. So it's,
By the way, I have to tell you, it's really interesting because Nebel, is that fog? And you said it's fog in German, correct?
yeah.
Well, it's interesting because you have winter, which is exactly the same word in English, yet Nebel is very close to neblina, which is the word in Spanish.
I'll see.
So y'all are all over the map.
It's crazy. Language is crazy.
Yes.
Actually, which is fun because I put the name of the place in the keywords as well, and there's actually a place close, which name is also Nebel. So I don't know. In case I ever take photos at that place Nebel, I don't know how to tag it because, well, maybe I have to call it town.
Yes, I was going to say Nebel Town, like you do. Like I've started to do actually over the last couple of years. Nebel Town, one word.
Yeah, could be. So what I maybe that's maybe something that for at least for Canon and Nikon shooters might be of interest because, and I have to check that. I go to the develop module, and for whatever reason it takes a bit. And I have a couple of where are they? Collections, elements. No, for whatever reason, Lightroom hangs now. Give me a second. I'll stop screen sharing for a moment. I think I'm back, so let me restart Lightroom. Okay, now it should work.
Image, okay, everything.
Right. Where was I? Okay.
So you were talking about how with Canon.
I think I started since we're going to edit that anyway. I think I started because it's much easier. So
yeah.
I usually shoot RAW, and so the picture styles and with Lightroom with Nikon's it's called picture controls. I think do not affect the RAW file, but they do affect the preview on your camera's display. And if you import a RAW file to Lightroom, then Lightroom has to first to be able to show it, has to first develop it, because a RAW file is not a photo yet. You have to develop it first. And so what Lightroom does is if you don't do anything, it imports your photo with the Adobe standard profile. And you already saw there's a change. I go back to faithful, and you see the picture is a bit darker, because I usually shoot with the camera faithful style simply because I have the feeling that it gives me the best color representation. But it's just, again, this is just the preview on my display. And so that I have the more or less same photo in Lightroom that I saw on my display, I already import my raw files with the camera faithful style applied to that. You can do that while importing, which is a cool thing. And you can't do that with the factory settings of Lightroom because these things are not in there, but I made, and that's where presets come in handy. I made presets for every of these styles, and so I import the files, the raw files, with that preset. In that case, the only thing that is changed is that the profile is set in that case to camera faithful, so that the photos in Lightroom look very close to what I saw on my camera's display. So that is one thing that might become handy for some people, because this was one of the first things that I really stumbled upon when I changed from JPEG to RAW. I imported my photos to Lightroom, and they didn't look at all like what I saw on my display. And I was really confused. And then I learned, right, you have to first develop a RAW file to be able to see the photo. And that's what Lightroom does when you don't change anything with the Adobe standard profile. So here's that. And you can do that, of course, with...
I think that's a whole other video.
It's a whole other video, right. Thing is, we can cut everything out. We don't have so, and that's why you see these little icons here. Photo has keywords because I keyworded them, and photo has develop adjustments because I added the and I have that here. No, picture styles or picture controls. I have a preset for each of these: faithful, landscape, neutral, portrait, and standard. I have a preset here, and I can apply that preset during import to my photos so that they look close to what I saw on my display. So how do I do that? How do I go through my photos when I after I imported them? Usually I choose the first photo and press the F key, F for full screen, so that I can see the photo in full screen, which helps a lot because sometimes it's not really apparent on the display of my camera if everything is in focus, if everything is sharp. And so that helps a lot to see the photo in full screen already. And then there are two keys in Lightroom that I use. One of them I use frequently, and the other one very rarely. What I use frequently is the X key, which marks a photo as rejected. So I would want to keep that photo. And of course, please, Fern, if you see something on a photo and say, okay, that's a crappy shot or that's a good shot, please add. When I'm breathing, so holding it in for a minute, talking, you can chime in there. So in case I say, oh, no, I don't want, let's zoom in and check whether that photo is in focus, and it seems to be in focus. You see it was...
Go to the left a little. I want to see something to the left. Yeah, that's what I figured. See that one block right there, that really reddish, very fall-looking section. It sort of bugs me, but if you go to the right, you have a little bit of that same tone right there, actually, almost in that bunch in the center, but not quite the same amount. I mean, I do like the image, I have to say, but I see it more as almost black and white.
Right, same.
Which it is almost black. I mean, it's what I call black and white in color now, really.
It is very, very dulled down colors here, and that's also something. When I saw that scenery, I'm a person. I don't. I mean, everyone has their different approach, of course. My approach is not to walk around and look for things that I can take photos of, but I walk around and then I see something, and then I see, well, it could be worth taking a photo of, and then I try to frame it. So some people are walking around with their eyes always on the viewfinder. I did that, but I don't do that for some years now, because when I'm on a walk, usually I want to have a walk, not looking for photos all of the time. But that's just my personal. It's nothing bad with that. It's just not how I do it. So what I would say with that shot, it could be interesting to and we can try that. Just crop it, right? So it could become more interesting if we crop it like so. No, not really. Why is that here? Weird. That's something Lightroom. I had that yesterday. I never had that before. That some things stayed here. No, became boring.
Yeah.
So what's happening? So it's an okay shot, I'd say. So I think we're gonna keep it, but I won't do anything with that. So next photo is, yeah, these houses in that area. Not really exciting, isn't it? What I like are
it's a nice shot of what it is.
Right. It's what I liked, and that's why I took the photos of, are the different shapes in the trees and bushes, and that's kind of neat, and have this kind of an idyllic place. And I think if you live there, that it's quite nice in the summer. In the winter, it's mostly cold. I guess.
No, even in this setting right now, I have to say, I mean, it's a good picture. It's not a portfolio picture, at least not, you know, as it is now. I do like also some of the like the depth of field, not so much of the image itself, but created by the fog, where that one whole area where the house is very clear and sharp, but it gives you a sense of depth, I have to say.
Yeah.
So that's cool. And I know you don't like the blotting, the what's that called, the cloning tool, but those little pieces right there on the, yeah, those would go to.
Definitely. I don't, as I said numerous times, I don't really like cloning tools, but you can't do anything about that. The only chance I would have had were to crop in closer. But I like that space here. And so
Yes.
the only way for me was to include that, and I had that in mind while taking the shot, to clone that, these little, what are these, trees or something, to clone them out later. So that was, to clone them out later. So yeah, it's also a shot that I think I will keep. So next one. And that's when I played around a bit with different framings, because see, that is like the classic way I would have, or I usually would take a shot like that. What I don't like is that it's a bit out of balance. There's too much space on the left. So I think I corrected that in the next shot. No, I just put the horizon line a bit deeper. And that's what I find interesting, is how differently that picture looks just if we set the horizon line a bit deeper. So it has a completely different, for me, atmosphere than that photo.
Okay, so which one do you prefer?
I personally prefer that one.
Yep.
And I like the empty space here, the snow here, the slightly darker sky here, and that is just a bit boring because we have that. It seems that I'm on the same level as the trees, while they were actually on a little hill, or they still are. I was out there today as well.
And that other one that we both don't like so much almost seems to be trying to really hard follow rule of thirds,
Right.
where the tree is in that middle, the trees are in that middle third. But I will say, in the previous one, I also I find that vast empty whiteness absolutely mesmerizing. There is a little bit more space to the left, so that's a cropping issue. And I think the trees are just angling just a little to the left, or maybe it's the horizon line.
It's the horizon line.
Look at it on a grid.
They're on a hill. But that's actually something, and we can do that. Let me check. No, I can do that. Let's try something. And you see, I was at 50 millimeter, which has kind of no distortions. F11 to get that really depth of field. And what we can try is to crop that a bit to the left. And that's one of the problems with the camera I have, because when I'm looking through the viewfinder, I don't see the whole picture, because I only see a cropped version. So I'm actually missing about 10% of the full picture. So sometimes when what I do is, by the way, I angle that just a tad more, so we have a feeling that it is actually on purpose. Well, now the angle is a bit stronger than it was in real life, but I think that works much better. And if you look closely, you see that the trees are not straight, but I don't think that that's an issue. So that was the original, and that is the cropped version and slightly angled version. I think that works much better.
Yes.
So there's that. And we both agreed we don't need that photo. So I press, and that's a cool thing, I press the X key, and you see there's a little flag appearing. And we're gonna, and you see that here, if we are in the library module, you see that little flag X set as rejected. And it's also here. And I played around more with that.
Yeah, I like this one too, by the way.
That was kind of, and that is interesting. That is more or less the view I had. So the hill is comparatively high. So the trees were really, that was and here we are at capturing reality. That was what I saw. Of course, I saw more around, but that was the impression of the trees I had, that they are that high above my eye line. And so I personally like that shot more. But
yeah,
that's also, for me, that's too much here.
Yes.
There, and I don't like these the grass here, and I would probably clone that out if I'd keep that. And there's some footsteps, which would have been interesting. Maybe I will keep that shot, so maybe we can try to bring these footsteps out a bit more if we want to. So we're gonna keep that. And okay, the other key that I said, the X key is to reject the photo, and the P key is to pick the photo. So we say that is a pick. That is one of the photos that I'd say, yes, that is definitely something that I would consider working on, and I would consider posting maybe. So let's go through that. I will keep that. I will not reject that, but I will also not flag it as a pick. And here that is, see, that is what I actually did, what we did before. I angled that photo a bit more. I angled my camera a bit more. Still, the crop is not really, there's still a bit too much here for my taste, but we can.
It's a bit too close.
You think? Yeah, it's a bit closer, isn't it?
Yeah, and it makes it more about the trees than about the feeling of space and yeah, it's just more focused on the trees.
Right. I was still, interestingly enough, at 50 millimeters, so I didn't zoom in, so I just stepped a couple of steps closer. So even that, and that wasn't really possible to go too far. It was maybe, let's say, maybe 2 feet or something. And that even made that, well, maybe 3. And that even made that impact. Even at 50 millimeter, that's what, well, no. Okay, 50 millimeter, yes, but it means that it was on my camera because of the crop sensor. It was at around 80 millimeter of a full frame camera. So I was slightly in the telephoto range with my lens already. But I think that's also too much for this video to talk about crop factors and focal lengths. But I will keep that as well, even though I absolutely agree the other one is more interesting. So, and that it's the same thing in landscape orientation. And what we can see here, I'm now at 80 millimeter. So I zoomed in a bit because I wasn't able to get closer because there was, yeah, simply wasn't able to go closer. So I zoomed in a bit. I usually prefer to go closer than to zoom in because of perspective reasons. For me, it makes things more organic. What I like is the structures here, and how the difference of the trees that are more in the foreground than to those that are more in the background behind the hill. And so I also think that could become quite interesting.
Yes.
Let me check, and that's definitely also a pick for me.
Yes, and it's, by the way, it's interesting because it's more about the trees, but it's about, as you said, the structure, the shape. And what's interesting to me is that it's not perfectly balanced in the middle. There's less space between those branches or whatever that is on the right and the border, and then there's a lot more empty space between those branches and that trees and the left. but because of the way the curve of the trees and the fact that there's actually more attention, and those trees on larger trees on the left are fuller and darker, it follows a natural curve of just perfect balance in its own way. I don't know quite if I'm making sense.
No, you do.
You see what I'm saying?
Absolutely agree. Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's one, I thought it might be interesting to go a bit bottom. And I changed from, as you see here, 80 millimeter to 65 millimeter. So I have a bit more space around. And you see there were actually trees close. And so I'd either...
Yeah, but this is too far. Even if those trees weren't there, this is too far. And this is not... The first ones that we looked at were more about the space and the ambience and everything. These are more about the trees and the structure themselves. Excuse me, that other one, that previous one.
That one?
No, not this. Not this one. It's iffy. It's wishy-washy. It's not really about anything. It's about too much and not enough. You know what I mean?
I agree. So we're gonna delete that. Also set this at rejected or to rejected. I'm going to go back to.
So I want to ask you, because you keep talking about rejecting, and I know someone who absolutely freaked out when I said that, because I'm like you, I dump photos, or I dump raw files, but some people prefer to save them anyway, because you never know when you can go back and save a photograph. So what you're doing is you're just dumping. Is this something you've developed over time to do that, or is it something you've always worked this way? Because
that's something I developed over time. I still have. When I was in, I think it was 2011, when it was the first time I really actually consciously took photos. So not just running around with the camera and snapping shots, but really try to take photos. And of course, I made way too many. I was 9 days in Kenya, and I brought home about 5,000 photos. And I still have all of them. And they're like a million. I think I have like 40 or 50 photos of that same leopard sitting on the side of the road in Tsavo East National Park, not moving, looking in the same direction. Nothing changed, and I still have all of those photos. And because I simply can't delete them, and I still can now. And but like. I've been that since for like a year or something, that I really go through my shots and I say, okay, what can I do with that shot? Is there something in that photo that I can bring out that will give me something else than all the other photos do? If I say no, there's nothing in that, then I'll delete it. And there's also over time, I mean, I don't know how many tens of thousands of photos I made in the last 6 years, since I've been actively trying to take photos or actively trying to engage in photography. So over time, and since I do shoot RAW, which means about 20 to 25 megabytes per photo, I'm running out of space, because you're not only, and that is also something that we should talk about one day, it's not enough that you save your photos to your hard drive, but you also have to have a backup if something fails. And I had a huge hard drive crash last year, and I lost a lot of files. Thank God, no photos. But even if you have a backup is worth nothing, because you have your files on your hard drive on your computer, then you have a backup on an external drive. So what happens? Backup, especially external drives, fail more easily. So you need to have a backup of the backup, and then things become really huge, or you really need a large amount of space. And so I really, I'm totally recklessly deleting photos that I don't need anymore. So this is definitely a rejected photo as well for me, because there's nothing in that shot that isn't in there as well. And if I really want to have that photo, if I really want to have more space on the right or on the left, then I go to Photoshop and extend it. So I know how to do it, so I don't need that shot.
Oh, and by the way, the lost files, and the backup, and having a backup of the backup, my own personal experience in the winter of a year, 2 years ago, actually, a year ago, 3 months worth of pictures, because I thought I had backed them up to Google Drive, and it was when I first got Google Drive, so it was a year ago. And they really did. You know how it'll create the files, but or the folder, and then it'll populate them over time.
Yeah.
I saw the folders, and I'm like, oh, the pictures are there. Boom. So yeah, 3 months of some of them really stunning photographs, I have to say, gone. So you have to be really careful to back up and not even depend on the cloud, because there can also be issues. And
Right.
if you're not on top of it, and if you don't check to make sure that the files are actually there, yeah, it can be not a disaster, because I hate to say this, but I have enough photos that I've taken. I have enough good photos that I've taken, and I'm going to keep taking photos, and hopefully I'll have at least 12 a year that are good. But yeah, it's something to think about, to have the cloud backup and the hard drive backup, and maybe even a hard drive backup of that hard drive backup, because failure is an option.
Absolutely, and that's one of those things that I will be talking about, either in my video series or in the podcast that I'm actually that I'm working on at the moment. Backup strategies, because there's one thing that I can say that now, because there's something I've been thinking about for quite a time now. Why not? I mean, raw files are neat if you really want to work on your photos, but I think I take the photos I take. I mean, that photo, not that, but that photo is a photo that works. I don't have to do anything with that photo so that it works as a photo itself. Of course, I would do something to that. We're going to talk about that later, but I don't need to keep all the raw files.
Mm-hmm.
So I've been actually thinking about converting my complete archive that I have to full res, high quality JPEGs, and save them somewhere, so that I at least have the JPEGs left, and they use only about 10% or 20% of the space that the raw files do. So that will save a huge amount of space, and you can still do a lot with JPEGs that are saved at 100% quality. So that was what I was thinking about, but I think my computer will be occupied for a couple of days if I do that. So
well, it's funny, because I told you that I'm thinking of getting the D5500 in about a month, and you just said that your raw files are 20 to 30 megabyte.
Yeah, 20 to 25
Okay.
megabytes usually.
My D50, my raw files are about 5.5 to 6 something megabytes.
Oh.
So you just freaked me out. Because remember, well, not that, but my D50 has the, good God, what's that called? The sensor is just what is it? It's a 6 gig. I mean, it's a first generation.
Yeah, they have probably around 5 megapixels, something like that.
Megapixels. Thank you. It's a 6 megapixel sensor. So yeah, going from that to, I think the D55 is 24 megapixel. Yeah, you just given me something more to think about. Thank you so much.
This is a lot, yeah. There's also something, well, we probably should not dive into that, but also something but we should at least mention that. Because raw files there's no standard for raw files, right?
No.
Every manufacturer has their own raw files, and even the raw files of different models, like Canon 550D, my first DSLR, the Rebel T2i, the raw files are different than the ones of the T5i, the EOS 700D that I have now. So just because software can open raw files of a 550D doesn't mean it can open the raw files of a 700D. And over time, I think that you will have problems opening raw files in 20 years of certain brands. So it might be a good thing to convert these files either like in JPEG, if you don't intend to do a lot with them, or to convert them to DNG, which is like Adobe wants DNG to be the standard raw file type. So there's something, but I'm going to talk about that in the episode. So let's continue here. Next shot is that gray shot. I'm going to talk about that. No, I'm going to talk about that later if we have time. Yeah, that was just something I attempted. I don't think we have to talk about that. That's definitely a rejected photo. So next one, same, kick that, and it's even blurred, I think. Yeah, camera shake. Takes a bit until the preview is rendered. Yeah, camera shake. So also rejected. Also reject that. Need that. That is boring. I like the trails here, so that was the reason why I took that photo, but it doesn't tell me anything, so delete that. Same here, because of the houses in the background. Yeah. Not interesting at all. That is a photo. Let me see, the horizon line is not really straight. And I took 2 or 3 versions of that, so gonna yeah, 2, right? Like that, because what I liked, and that's what I saw, was these 2 trees here that kind of, and the branches kind of entangled, and they created sort of a gate here, and that was what fascinated me. And I wasn't able to, so this one is a bit too dark, so you don't really get that, and so I took a bit of a brighter version of that. That is definitely a photo that could work if we really work on that. So maybe darken the parts in here so that the trees in the foreground, because they were actually like, I don't know, at least I have to guess, but at least 6 feet at least in front of the forest in the background. And I think that is a shot that demands a bit of work to really make what I saw / felt in that moment when I was standing there. But so I'm going to delete that because I will not be using that, but I'm going to keep that.
I don't know if you should delete the other one, I have to say. I actually like the placement of this one, but it's also maybe because it's darker, but I see the possibilities in both of them. I really like, I have to say, it's not so much that gate feeling that you had, but and I actually like the framing of this one and the composition a little better of the trees, because I think it also looks like it's a little closer, or it's more about the trees. Yeah, the chaos of the trees in the front, the trees themselves, and then the ones in the back are almost, and I'm going to go out on a limb, like pine trees, I'm assuming. So they're very vertical, and especially the trunks are very vertical, and that's where I keep going to for both of these. That whole area with the trunks and that tension between those very up and down linear trunks that are in the background, as opposed to these highlighted, chaotic, highlighted because of the snow on them, trunks in the foreground, slightly more in the foreground, and I like how that also, that all that snow on those trunks, excuse me, and
yes.
also, and really when you look at, yeah, you have the two trees, but you've also got to the right and to the left, you have trees that have that same formation. Yeah,
Right. Yeah.
I like the fact that it sort of almost brings in, without really, which is fascinating to me, the more I look at this, it brings in and connects the whiteness of the snow and that whiter gray background area, and does all this playful stuff in here, as opposed to that very linear background. So either one of those, I think, I mean, that would be something where personally what I would do is I would mess with both a little to see eventually which one satisfied me the most.
Right. Then we delete the rejected flag. That's something that bugs me with Lightroom, that you can't just unreject the flag with a keyboard command. At least I haven't found one. So I have to always go back to the library module and unreject it.
Really?
Yeah. But maybe there is a way. I haven't found one yet. So you can't just click press X again, because it will still be rejected. So,
you know, let me tell you something, by the way, and I know you're going to delete this, but watching you work with this, I have to say I am definitely sticking with Camera Raw. Because one of the things I love about Camera Raw, and maybe you can do this in Lightroom, is that I have the thumbnails on the left, which I can just draw, you know, completely.
I can have that here too.
Can you do that in Lightroom?
Here, the thumbnail.
No. But here you just have the one thumbnail. In Lightroom, you have the vertical, for lack of a better, yeah, kind of like this, like what you've got on the bottom just now. Yes, but larger. And so I like that.
Possible.
There we go. Okay, okay, all right. Okay. I mean, I kind of figured, that's why I brought it up. But I've gotten so used to that, because that, I will also say, by the way, that really helps me a lot when I'm trying to decide what images I want to keep or not.
That's interesting. I never used that. I know a lot of people use that film frame or a film strip mode in Lightroom.
Film strip.
That. Because yeah, I either have it here in the library, that grid view, and the thing on the bottom just distracts me.
But you know what, by the way, well, I also have to say I prefer the view, the strip on the left, because it gives the image more space. The other thing I will do sometimes is I will just take that film strip and do this, you know, the same settings for everything, and then sort of tweak each image and decide what I want. But sometimes I'll just look at the strip itself and go, you know what? No, this sucks. This sucks. This sucks. And I don't know if you can do this in Lightroom, but in Photoshop Raw, you can just click on the image and click on the delete button, and to undelete, you just click on the delete button again, and it'll delete and undelete the image, kind of the same way you use the X button. But I do like that film strip option, and I will admit I would still prefer it on the left or on the right, but here it's on the left, which is
maybe it's possible. I have to admit I don't know, because I never looked into that, because I don't use it, and that's just, yeah, that's something. I like things neat and tidy, and so I want to have things all in sight, like here, and then the possibility to go in there, because I have my. It might be possible that you can change the user interface of Lightroom.
Right.
I have to admit, I don't know. I have to look into that. Might be interesting how much you can customize your user interface of Lightroom.
Plus, I think this does a lot more because it has the library option and all of that. Whereas Lightroom Raw, Photoshop Raw is just about the photos. I don't even know if you can tag because I've never really tried.
I don't know, but there's I know a couple.
Anyway.
Basically, I mean, Lightroom is camera raw with a different user interface. It is the same engine that works in the background. So you can do everything with camera raw that you can do with Lightroom in terms of working with the photos, organizing your shot. And I don't think that camera raw has these options as Lightroom has, because camera raw, of course, is connected to Bridge, which has the possibilities to organize your photos, keyword photos, sort them, etc., etc. So I don't think they implemented that in camera raw as well.
No, and I will admit, and I think I told you that a while back, that's one of the things that turned me off about Lightroom, is that it does have all of that tagging and the storage, and it's like, you know what, I have a system I've been using for 4 years now. You're trying to impose this system on me, which is similar, I have to say, but no. So I have Lightroom because it comes with it.
Yeah. It's funny that, because with me it was the exact opposite. I was working with Photoshop for, I don't know, 10 years at least, and because I had to do a lot of stuff with Photoshop, and I have to admit, I also enjoyed working with Photoshop just because. And what I never liked was that I have to open each shot individually. And of course, this is with I think with when Adobe started the CS suite thingy, that's when they introduced Bridge, and I never liked Bridge. So I was really relieved when I started with Lightroom 3, I guess. And when I saw, okay, I have that all in here, I can import my photos, and importing means just they appear in the database. I don't have to, they can stay where they are on the hard drive. I just have it here in the library. I see my folders where they are, and if you import photos, the photos will be saved to exactly where I want them, and I can have my collections in here. So meaning, if I have my keyword, for example, I say, okay, I want to see all the photos that have the keyword winter in them. I just can create a smart collection and say, okay, call it winter, right? The other metadata keywords contains winter, create, boom, I have my smart collection with winter, and all photos that are tagged or keyword with winter are in that smart collection. So that is really something that I absolutely adore with Lightroom, is the way to organize your photos. What I don't like is that it is still kind of a fuss to actually move photos, like the destination. I have them in one folder and I want to move them to a different folder, really change the local storage of a photo. That is still something, at least I haven't found an easy way, like drag and drop or something, or just move them over here. So maybe it's possible. I haven't found a way yet, but I don't do that. I still do that in Windows. I just drag and drop folders, and then I tell Lightroom, okay, I moved the files to here and relink them, please. So yeah.
Yeah, you just convinced me. I'm sticking with Camera Raw.
Yeah.
Sorry, I kept calling it Photoshop Raw. It's Camera Raw. Yes, you're right.
But it's here we are at the thing. I mean, there's no right and no wrong.
Right. Exactly.
That's the thing. You can do whatever
Yes.
you want and whatever fits you, and you don't have to adapt your workflow
Yes.
to a certain program if you don't have to work with that piece of software. I loved working with Photoshop. I changed to Lightroom because it simply fits my personal approach much better than Photoshop does. And I still use Photoshop sometimes, especially when I have to work with layers or stuff. That is something that Lightroom can't do. And I don't think that they will ever introduce layers to Lightroom simply because then it wouldn't make sense for photographers to also Photoshop. So, okay, then let's continue.
Right.
I kind of like that shot. I like
Yes, it needs to be straightened out, or there's something.
No, I like it. I think
I like the hill effect, but I don't know if it's also that tree in the center. And I think part of the thing with this, perhaps for me, would be that very blurry combo tree that's centered needs to be dead. Yes, that needs to be dead center. And yes, it's straight. So I mean, it's straight up and down. So there's something about it then that needs to be centered a little more. But you know what? It is centered, isn't it?
Yeah, it is almost centered. No, yeah, it is centered.
Okay, and go ahead and crop it and see what happens.
So let's do it this way.
Yeah. Believe it or not,
here is the photo is not balanced. See, we have that white plate, the white area here. Okay, we have that movement of the grass or whatever that is here, but we have that massive dark part here. And just
but you know what? I like that.
You like that? But
yeah.
I would love to have something that balances here a bit more. So like if there were bushes going out here a bit more to maybe if we can, let me just try that. Maybe if we add a slight little vignette in here, that could help.
Yes, but you know what it is for me, and it's on that right side, is that you have that strip of background, whatever that is. I'm assuming it's trees, but then right on the keep going, move to the right. See right there where it ends.
Right. Yeah.
That for me destroys the whole layering, because that's what's really cool about it, that there's this layering and there's all of this chaos with all of the branches in the front. The other thing that distracts me immensely.
Let me just do that. No, it doesn't work.
No,
not at all.
No, it is the the steps or whatever that is in the very forefront of the picture. There's so not even that that stuff down there. Not even that one so much. The one to the left, all those, and there's all these little lower. There we go. All of that.
The steps. Now I got you. Yeah.
Yeah, that's very distracting.
True.
That's very distracting when I'm trying to focus on the beautiful foggy background. That stuff is distracting.
Absolutely.
And I like the photo. I mean, but I honestly don't know if it's fixable. Do me a favor. Try this for a crop. Try cropping. I don't know if it's what you did. Try cropping it so that it's just the right side.
Just the right side.
That is gone.
Oh, right. Yeah. Like
so. So that try and try now. Move the photo up just a little. No, move it up.
Move it up.
In other words, move it so that there's more of the move it up so that there's more of the branches.
Oh, so right, like so.
There we go.
Yeah, better.
That is better. There's still that distraction now, that stuff on the right.
Let me try to get rid of that.
You know what I mean? I mean, it's fixable. It's fixable, and I think it's an interesting picture.
See, that's something that is already. I mean, I could do that. That is already too much fuss for me.
I was just going to say the same thing. For me, some images are worth it, but you also have to know when to say, you know what, let's move on.
Right, and that is a picture that I'd say move on. So
Yeah.
for me, this
I was
is
thinking the same thing.
rejected one.
Yeah.
So, and I have,
I mean, it's a shame. Ooh.
this is a different composition of the same shot. And I think I have,
Ooh.
for that. That is better. Let's keep that. Let's move on.
I like that one too, I have to say.
But here we are again with that slight little gap. And that is something.
And then you have that other side too.
And
on
that
the
is
left.
something I didn't see that gap through the viewfinder because that was cropped off in my viewfinder. And let's just crop it here a bit. And we can get rid of that. That shouldn't be a big deal to get rid of that. Boom. Just sloppy, of course, and I don't like these trees here, so we're gonna get rid of them too. Move that up. So.
Oh. If it's a little better centered, yes.
All right.
Yeah, I think that's perfect.
So that could work, yes.
Yeah.
And I don't like that one here. I'm gonna get rid of that.
But it's funny because you have that same. I mean, I don't necessarily. It's not a criteria, but I do not spend more than just more than a couple of minutes on a photo. Every once in a while, there is a photo that I will go back, I will tweak, and I will go back again. But it's very rare. But again, like you said, with this choice of Lightroom or Camera Raw, there's no right way or wrong way. But I think you have to decide. I really like this. There's something so atmospheric and mysterious about that. I really like this. Anyway.
Yeah, that's for me. I usually so it depends on the shot. Sometimes what I do a lot with, especially with landscape photos, is that I really kind of sculpt the photos in terms of that what people would call dodge and burn, that I lighten parts and darken other parts and bring out structures and parts, and that takes a bit of time, of course. But that is a photo I don't think that I would probably get rid of these things here as well.
Yeah, it needs more work. I mean, there's some. I'm seeing it really small because I'm seeing it on like a 12-inch screen. But yes, but there's still there's a whole possibility. There's a whole bunch of possibilities to this.
Yeah, that is out of focus and blurred, and we're gonna reject.
But that's fine. See, to me, that's fine. To me, that's absolutely fine.
You see, it was really snowing, and the snow became heavier here, and it was really starting to get really cold, and so I was in a bad mood yesterday anyway. So
by the way, and here's so back up and let's look at the whole picture. Here's the problem with you're looking at one specific area to see whether it's out of focus or not. When you look at just this area and you look up closer, yes, it's out of focus. But then when you look at the whole image and compare it now, if the branches in the forefront are no, not this one. Just zoom out.
Yeah, that's a different picture. That is a different picture.
Oh, this is I'm sorry. I thought you were looking at that same. Oh yeah, reject this. That's just boring.
That's what I said.
I'm sorry, I didn't realize it was a different picture. That's just boring.
Right.
But and because the question was, how do you choose when you have several images? But even if of the same thing that you've taken different, that was the original question, if I'm not mistaken. Right. I have 5 shots of the same leopard, like you were talking about earlier. How do I choose which one is the best one? You have to follow your instinct of what is good or not, and just. But also learn to examine it, which is why I think the critiques are so important. The way you would look at somebody else's photograph, and I think learning how to critique a photograph helps this. Are any of these pictures going to guarantee a successful 10,000 plus notes on Tumblr or, you know, a museum show, or that you're getting. No, because maybe, and we all go through this, what we like and what we're absolutely convinced is a perfect photo just doesn't get noticed. But I think it has to be that you are looking at this image, and when you look at it, you think, I am satisfied, period. That's what you follow.
Absolutely. And just for the record, I never had a 10,000 plus photo on Tumblr.
I've had a couple of I've had, I think, 2 that were over 2,000. I've had a couple that are over 1,000. As a matter of fact, my Golden Gate Bridge one, which was really, again, one of those pictures that you have to just, you know, guess. I really was very surprised and have been very pleasantly surprised at the feedback I've gotten from photographers who I admire immensely, and the amount of votes, and it keeps popping up. So you don't know. You just don't know. So you have to post what you like, and you have to just learn to pick the photo. That's the other thing. You know, the perfectionism, and I'm a perfectionist when it comes to all this stuff, but you have to at some point say yes or no, and let's move on. Or just, you know what, if you can't decide, move on to something else and come back to the pictures later. That's always another option.
That's,
you know
something,
what I mean?
By the way, that is something, what I do frequently. I see a photo and say, yeah, I think that is worth the effort of exploring that a bit more, and I just don't know how. And so that's why I have my, I won't do that with that shot. Let's take it with that shot. Like, that's why I have my work in progress keyword. And so I have my smart, and I don't have it in this catalog because I made this catalog especially for these. So I have my work in progress keyword, and I have my work in progress smart collection. And whenever I don't know what to post, I'm looking in that smart collection, and maybe one of the photos pops out, and I say, okay, I want to work on that. And then as soon as it's finished, I remove the work in progress keyword, and it's gone out of the work in progress smart collection, which is what I found a really cool way to. I go through my shots, and I say, okay, that is a photo I will work on. I will definitely one day work on. So I put the work in progress keyword in there. It wanders in my smart collection, and so whenever I have time or I'm in the mood of working on my photos, I can always go into that smart collection and probably find a photo that is worth exploring.
By the way, I have a similar, it's interesting you mentioned that, and I really will admit that I'm impressed with. The tagging work in progress, I'm impressed with. My system is, I have, kind of similar to their system, really. I have the month, you know how we do in the United States, you know, opposed to the way you do it. We do the month, I have the month, the date, the day and the year. So it's like today is, what is it? 01, 09, 17. Okay. That's the folder. Then in that folder, I have all of the raw files. Then when I'm going through, I will, you know, edit them and so on. And then I create, usually if it's more than 2 or 3 photos, I'll create 2 folders. I have the folder, which when, you know, in Windows, when you create and I think Mac is the same thing, really. The new folder is what or folder or whatever it is. I just add again the date, so I know, just in case, you know how sometimes you move stuff accidentally, I'll know that, hey, this folder belongs in this photo folder. But it's so that's the one where the photos go in that have been processed and that are posted and that are done. Then I have another folder that I call the same thing, the date, and then unused. And then I put the ones that, as you said, work in progress, I'll put those in there. And then the ones that I dump disappear. So a lot of my folders have 2 folders, you know, 2 subfolders, one for the photos that are posted, one for the photos that are unused. So I can always do that going back thing that you're talking about. So basically the same system. I mean, different way of going about it, but yeah.
I do that all in Lightroom, because whenever I post a photo, I have that as soon as I say, okay, I stop. I mean, it's like George Lucas once said about movies. You're never finished with a movie. You just stop working on it. And that's the same for me with photos. And that's the one point that I say, okay, boom, finished. There's virtually no photo I ever made that I'd say, yeah, it's perfect. Because there's always something that I see weeks later or at the same day and I say, wow, I could work on this. There's a point in time when you say, okay, stop working on it. It's done. And so that point for me is when I render the photo out, I save it as a JPEG to my disk, and then it gets my the tag of the blog I'm posting it to. So either TVOOM or TVOOM 365, and it gets the tag posted. So, and I also have my smart collections in there. So for the posted photos, and they also get so because in the folders the photos are actually stored in, I don't see if that one photo was posted already. So if I posted a photo, I will give it it's here in, where are we, color label. It gets a blue color label. So when I look at the library, I see, okay, that one is blue. I know I posted that already. So if there are photos that are similar around them, I see, okay, but I posted that one already. So that is my personal way of dealing with that.
Hey, you know what? It's a system. It works for you. Mine works for me, and that's the whole thing.
Absolutely.
I think using a system, good idea.
And the system is just there to show people what is possible, and if it works for them, perfect.
Yep.
So let's continue. I don't know
Yes.
about that shot. It doesn't tell me anything. Does it tell you anything?
Sorry, I was turning off the alarms because I was supposed to wake up in about 4 minutes.
Supposed to wake up. So
So yeah, hold on. No, not really. I mean, I can see. No, I don't know. What do you think?
no, I don't see anything.
No.
It's, yeah, I don't even know why I took that shot. I can't.
Because of the reindeer shit on the floor?
I don't think so. I think it was because of the trees in the background, and because
yeah, no.
it started to snow really heavily, and no, it doesn't work for me. Same here, it doesn't.
No.
Nothing.
Wait, back up.
Bad. Are you still there? I think Fern has left the building. I think Fern has left the building. Is Fern still there? I don't think he is. No, he's gone. Fern is gone.
Sorry, no, I pressed the button. I have the keyboard on the floor, and I pressed the button by mistake. And ooh. Sorry about that. Kind of, except what is very distracting and is unfixable is in the very forefront, all of those twigs and stuff at the forefront. That destroys it for me. If it wasn't for all of that grass or whatever it is that's growing very much at the front, it would be a kind of an interesting layering effect to the photo. And again, I'm seeing this more in black and white than in color. I could see the possibilities, but it's not fixable. So next.
Definitely not. So that is a trademark shot for me. Trees. I know what to do with that photo, and it will work, I think. So I don't think I have much about.
I mean, it's a workable photo. Yes,
definitely. Well, it's just like me and the trees, right? Oh no, not reject that. I just automatically pressed X. So, and I'm undecided about that. I'm really undecided. I don't know. See, here's the thing, and that is actually something I was in a very, very, very bad mood yesterday. And
How bad was it?
very bad, extremely bad. And I was out there, and the thing that I saw in that shot were the footsteps
Mhm.
and in the snow. And there were actually a couple of people around, so like really couples making what was yesterday, Sunday, yes, making their Sunday walk in the snow, and they all were jolly and happy and totally in love and everything, right? Holding hands, and I was freezing and I was in a bad mood. And so I saw these footsteps on the ground, and automatically kind of a story evolved in my head. And I said, I have to take a photo of that. And that was just, it wasn't really the scenery that made me make that photo, but it was the surroundings, what I felt, what I saw around me, what is actually not in that photo. So it's one of those classic vacation photos that you know from your aunt and uncle when they come home from this photo, it's like you don't see it in the shot, but it was when we met, blah blah. So it's one of the most uninteresting photos ever, because it doesn't
Really?
show at all what I wanted to show, and that was actually how I felt at that moment, and that is not in that shot. So I'm biased, even, maybe.
No, I have to say, I really like it. Now, I will say this. I would just center it a little more to the right, so I would crop out a little of the left. I am fascinated. There we go. And bring it down. There we go. More. Well, yeah, let's leave it there for now. I think that's something to judge. And here's why. I am fascinated by the way by the steps, and I'm fascinated also by the way the photo is cut in certain, almost in half, and you know that fascinates me, horizontally, with that darker shadow that's almost like a solid. It looks like there's a huge 25-foot, or in your case, what is it, 75 meter or whatever it would be, or to 30 meter wall that's huge, that's creating that shadow right there. So you have these two horizon lines almost that are encasing the little fence posts, I'm assuming. There's also, yeah, they're right there. Now go up to the branches on the trees a little. See, like all that snow, there's also that horizontal line there that's sort of, so there's all of this that really keeps me looking, and with not so much with higher highlights, but with higher whites, and perhaps more, just tweaking some of the settings. I can see this being really a gorgeous either black and white in color photo, or a straight up black and white photo. But I'm fascinated by the bizarreness and unexpectedness of all of what's going on in that. Plus, I have to admit, I also, in this one, really like that little house in the horizon. It adds a little touch of human presence there, that adds to the mystique with the fence. And yet it's very barren. I like this photograph.
I don't. Not at all. I don't.
Well, then dump it. I mean, again, it goes back to how you feel about it. You know what I mean?
Yeah. No, I'm probably gonna keep it. I'm just, because I want to keep the crop, because I think the crop is good, and I wanted to delete the rest. So let's keep it. Let's not reject it, but let's keep it.
That's a work in progress.
It's a work in that would be a classic work in progress. Yes, definitely. And so, yeah, that is better. I like that much better. I think that's way more balanced.
Mm-hmm.
And so that is, see, there's not so much, well, let's go back to color. There's not so much difference between those two shots. It's just
Yes.
a slightly different perspective. I went a bit lower. And that's also, if you see 44 millimeters is very well, we have to calculate that to the crop sensor, but it has almost no distortion, so it's kind of the perspective and the how do you say, the no, what's the name, the
Say it in Spanish, I'll understand you.
well, yeah, so my Spanish, la tortilla.
Oh, never mind.
Okay, it doesn't matter. It looks very natural. There are no distortions in there. So I like that, and that would. So I will delete that.
Delete the first one. This one is much better. I totally agree with you.
Yeah, and we have that organic movement. So that would be for me a classic work in progress picture.
Yes.
And so trees. I think we don't have to talk about them. Trees.
I actually like that little strip of snow on the bark on the trunk for all these trees.
Definitely.
That's a really cool one, and I do. Yeah, this is definitely something that yes.
This is just like that.
Oh yes. Oh my God, yes.
Boom. And bring the whites down a bit so that they don't blow out, and maybe add a little vignette. And
oh yeah,
that's it. See, you don't have to do a lot with these.
No.
So that is definitely trees.
Yeah. See, I would bring the white up a little bit more, but that's but again, that's
the thing is, then it blows out, and I hate blown out whites.
Who
But
cares? Well, no, that's not true. Depends on the photo.
It depends on the photo, definitely.
Yes.
I'm an extreme hardliner with that. I hate blown out highlights. It's just they give me the.
Don't look at any of my photos. At half of my photos, especially the architecture ones. Ooh.
So what I wanted to show, and I don't know if I made a different one here.
The
cropping is, I think, and that was the idea behind that. If we crop that to really more wide angle, 16:9 or something, that could, we have to move it up a bit.
Yeah,
it could actually work, and could become something like a background for I don't know, website background or something.
Yeah, but it also needs to be a little bit centered, better centered.
Yeah, you're right. Of course, absolutely.
Yeah,
we gotta get rid of these sticks. Yeah, no, don't even need to get rid of them. And of course,
no, I agree with you. I wouldn't even get rid of. I mean, they're a little but they sort of lead the eye in anyway. Right. So
like here and here. So I think that's definitely a photo we can keep, and that is the same shot with a slightly different perspective, a bit brighter, but the highlights are blown out slightly, not too much up here.
See, and I like in this one, I like the blown out highlights. That's what fascinates me about this one. Because I can see a whole lot of really graphic art. Again, I'm seeing this in black and white.
Yeah, we have to probably bring the black.
Oh, I'm in heaven already. A little bit of balance. I mean, a little bit, a little bit more centered. But yeah. Oh yeah.
Yes. Also needs more center. Here, like so. And that works. Boom.
Yeah.
That's a winter picture. Maybe. And that's something. And here we are at maybe bring it down a bit. And here we are at editing, right? But what I would do with that photo is to add a slight little amount of blue in the shadows. So just click on blue here. That's too much, but really just add a tad, so that you have that slight little hunch of blue, so that gives you really that cold feeling. You almost don't see it, and I presume most people wouldn't even recognize that there's a slight little bluish tint in that photo, but that really gives the photo something. And what I do sometimes is that I also add a slight little bit of orange. I mean, we split toning just a tad to counterbalance that a bit. So you'd think you look at a black and white photo, but actually it's a blue and orange photo.
Yes. Yeah, well, and it's complementary colors, which you know how and it's not just how I feel about them. I mean, it works. It brings out. I think it's a gorgeous photograph. You're absolutely right. It's still a black and white picture.
That works definitely, yes. And I think that was no, second to last one. That was the last one that I made, and I just wanted to, because I saw that snow, because it was really snowing heavily, and I wanted to show the snow here. So that's why what I think works here is the snow in front of the chaos of the branches, and so that's what I would focus on when working on that shot. So bring the clarity up so that I really see the snowflakes a bit more. Get rid of that shit here because it distracts me. That's something. I use the cloning tool only to get rid of stuff that distracts me.
Oh yeah. Totally. I mean, I have to say sometimes I will mess with it, but it's usually it's just to clean it up.
Right, and same up here.
Yeah.
We're gonna put that shit up here. And I'm actually, because you see the snowflakes in the sky as well, and I'm thinking about how can we
Increase the blue
emphasize on them a bit more. So drag in a gradation curve, punch up the clarity and maybe the contrast. No, contrast will only make it brighter. So bring down the shadows a bit. Yes.
There you go.
And you see them more. And we can, if we duplicate that, and duplicate that, and duplicate that, we have a lot of snowflakes in the sky, which look like sensor dust.
No, but you know it's snowing. Yeah.
And everyone would say your sensor's dirty. Actually, it is, and that's why I made that shot. And you see sensor dust. I don't know. See that little these things here.
Yeah.
And you can make make it visible if you have. And I was shocked, to be very honest, to see how dirty my sensor is. Just close the aperture as much as ever possible with the lens I had on. It was f32, right? And what you see are dust specks on the sensor, and we have the spot removal tool, which is there for to remove to remove sensor dust. And if you click that, we have that visualize spots checkbox. And you can play around, and all these spots is all sensor dust. And I was shocked, so I have to clean my sensor. So, but you don't see them. Fun fact, by the way, you don't see, what you see here is not the actual dust on the sensor, but the shadow the dust throws on the sensor, because a sensor has a little coating on it, of course, usually a UV filter, and light shines through the lens. And the more you close the lens, the more focused the light is, the harder the light is. And so what you see is actually the shadow the dust throws onto the sensor. And so you don't see it if you work with very wide open apertures. And even at f8 or even at f11, I don't see these dust specks. Only when I close it really to f32, then I see them, but I still have to get rid of them because I don't like dusty sensors or dirty sensors.
Oh God, we're not even going to talk about that. Anyway, there's one other thing I wanted to say, by the way, about the whole choosing thing.
So by the way, let's just delete, because that is a cool thing. We have rejected those shots, right? Rejected. And so we have to be in the library module, library, and no, photo, right? Photo, delete rejected photos, or control backspace. And it shows all the rejected photos, and we can say either remove them, so they will be removed from the Lightroom catalog, but they will still remain on the disk, of course. Or we can say delete them from disk. So if you want to keep all your photos but don't want to have the rejected ones in Lightroom, so just click on remove. But I want to delete them, and so they're gone. I only have the ones that I want to work with, and so we only have 17 photos. Before that, it were like, I don't know, 29, something like that.
Yeah, and some of these are maybes. But one of the things I was going to say, and this happened to me a month, I haven't taken pictures in a month. Well, that's not true. I took them New Year's Eve, but that was only like 4 pictures. I went out at the beginning of December and I took about 20 photos, kind of like what you did, except with the fog. They all sucked. They all sucked. And you know what? Delete, 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 delete. It happens. Again, move on. You know, because I think one of the things that's crucial to that, and it's taken me a while to get there, and obviously you're in the same place. You know, you have to feel secure enough with your talent as a photographer to be able to do that, and to sometimes acknowledge. And again, also, you know what? Reading what other photographers go through. Ansel Adams, Richard Avedon, his series of portraits that he took in the West, his black and white portraits, which are, some of them are stunning, some of them, but he, you know, took all of these gorgeous pictures, traveled all over. Eventually, at one point, he snapped pictures for 2 weeks in Texas. I remember the story, and all of a sudden, he realized it was, you know, none of these pictures. 2 weeks, Richard Avedon taking pictures for 2 weeks. They all stunk. He didn't like any of them. He dumped them, and he didn't use them. And he also ended his project because he'd been doing it for, I think, like 2 years or something like that. And sometimes, you know, you have to just say these pictures are no good. You know, and move on. You know, you're going to take more pictures. You know.
Right, and I haven't taken, like, in the second half of 2016, I almost didn't take any photos at all because I just didn't feel it, right? And there's always the same places and always, which doesn't actually matter because it's not, for me, it's not about to take that unique photo. It's about the process. I like taking photos and FSC. I mean, if you look at my blog, you see the same sceneries over and over and over and over again. But it's not. I just enjoy to do that. So
yes.
And I simply didn't enjoy it, or it was not that I didn't enjoy it. It was just kind of indifferent.
Right.
And lately I have been more drive to do stuff, and so I went out there yesterday and I went out there today. Today I took 2 photos and I was there like 2 hours or something. I just wandered around.
That's it.
And, had my camera with me, and nothing really gave me something new that I haven't seen yesterday. So it was nevertheless a nice little walk. And that's the cool thing if you're a landscape photographer or even, I don't know, street photographer or architectural photographer. You're out there, yeah? You're walking around and you can kind of meditate about life and stuff and things.
Yes, yes. Well, and it's also, you know, it's interesting that you mentioned that about taking pictures of the same thing, because, you know, I've been doing that, the damn Manetti Shrem Museum over here on campus since June, at least once a month until November or December. And but it was about the same place almost. I mean, there's some photos that are almost identically framed, but it's about the different ways that the light hits and the shadows create whatever, you know what I mean? So it's an exploration that some people may like, some people may not like, but again, it was really satisfying for me. And now I also have realized that I pretty much am done with the Manetti Shrem Museum. Not because I don't think it's stunning, because it's actually a gorgeous place, and I'll go visit it again now that it's open. And I may take other pictures, and I actually posted something on this on the last picture of the Manetti. But it's about feeling and knowing and exploring, and sometimes your own way of doing things. And like you said, you know, and like we both said, you know, sometimes you take a lot of pictures, sometimes you don't. I've gone to San Francisco with my camera and, oh, I'm going to take all these pictures, and no. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
So yeah. Anyway, I have to go to work, you know.
I have to go to the bathroom.
I really hope you edit that part out.
We'll see. We'll see.
All right. So let's not switch back, because that clicking is annoying.
Right. Then let's keep here and say goodbye here. Thank you for joining me for this one. We still have, in case you want to do that with me, if not, then I'll do it by myself. Because the question by Biostep Prof was a two-part question. Question number one, how to select photos. I think we were talking like 1.5 hours about that, which is really cool. And there was really interesting things in there, I think. I learned a lot from you, by the way. Thank you.
Oh, thank you. I learned a lot from you.
Thank you. I'm glad. And the second part of the question was the stages of editing, which is there a certain order to go through? And I have my certain order, of course,
yep,
that I do usually, which is not even true, because yes, there is a certain order that I have, but I don't follow that religiously, because sometimes I just see, okay, to do this. But that will be a second video, which will be much shorter. So in case Fern wants to join that, we can do that.
Yes.
I would love to do that together with you. We can do that in the next days if you have the time.
Yes.
If not, then I will do that by myself. So
yes, and by the way, I'm really interested in going over that, because I have my own specific process for doing, because, you know, I do almost exclusively black and white. And I have my own process that I've developed that's different from the way most people work, because you mentioned dodging and burning, and you've done some stuff that I know about that you can do in Lightroom and in Camera Raw, but honestly I haven't explored it, and I've found my own way of manipulating the images to get the effects that I want.
So just a suggestion, we should do that. Both of us should do that. So I will do that, and I will look for let's say a classic shot that I made, that I can show what I usually do.
Yeah,
I can do a lot with, and you do the same, and then we're gonna make a video in which one part you show how you do stuff, and in the second part I show how I do stuff.
Yes, that sounds really cool. That sounds really cool, because with a totally different type of photography, because immediately I already have a couple of images and actually Manetti Shrem images that I could use to go through exactly. And I will say, for the Manetti Shrem images, I have at this point a specific system of how I do stuff. But yes. Anyway, I have got to get ready to go to work and face the situations I was telling you about, which that you will delete. But yes,
I wasn't streaming in the beginning, so don't worry.
Oh, okay, cool. No, I mean what I just said about the situations. I don't even.
Of course.
But yeah, I have to go to work, and actually I'm also looking forward to going to work. So I love my job and the people I work with.
I hope maybe that was something that some of you might even watch completely. I doubt it, because it was really very long, but I enjoyed it a lot, and Fern told me that he also enjoyed it a lot. So in case you like that, and in case you want to see more of these, just drop me a line either on Tumblr at tvoom.tumblr.com, or comment on the video here on YouTube. And of course, if you like this video, send it a thumbs up. And if you like my videos in general, you can always subscribe to this channel. So bye bye, till next time.